Warning: the Not Thought podcast contains language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. There will also be spoilers for various anime throughout the course of this episode. Please use caution in case we discuss a series you haven't finished. Finally, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and may not reflect the Not Thought podcast as a whole. Enjoy the show.
Here I go on my own, me, myself, and I in paradise.
Hello and welcome to Dub Talk, where a group of nerds get together to talk about the latest in English dubs from anime. I'm Jet, and I'm joined tonight by Amon.
Howdy.
And tonight we're here to take a trip back to the good old years of the 90s. Just the most 90s thing imaginable. Because after many months, we're here to talk about the dub for Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. And the reason I say many months is because there was a whole very bizarre saga surrounding this dub that's gone on for like a year or two, essentially.
I had forgotten all about it until I started watching this and was like, oh, right, that was a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the reason people found out this dub existed at all was because there was a no work policy put on it by SAG-AFTRA for some reason. I think it was that like they wanted to pull some LA talent over for it, and I guess they didn't go through SAG-AFTRA for that, so that ended up falling through, and no work policy put on that.
Whoops.
Yeah, for a while, most people, myself included, kind of assumed that meant the dub just wasn't going to happen, but no, apparently it was still a thing. And still done in Canada, so here we are, finally able to talk about it, though unfortunately not as widely available as I would like, but I guess we'll get to that later.
I know this isn't our first Canadian dub, but is this our second Canadian dub? I feel like we have not covered many of them.
Yeah, I know we did one for, I know there was one we covered for like Summer at the Movies, but this is my first time getting to talk about a Canadian dub, so I'm excited.
Weren't you on the Death Note episode?
Yeah.
So I think this might be our third Canadian dub now, unless there's something I'm missing.
No, this would be number 3.
Oh boy.
So this is a dub made by our good friends in Canada. And before we get to that, I should probably give a description. Okay, so pull a little bit from A&N. After the defeat of the Dark Lord Hadlar, all the monsters were released from his evil and moved to the island of Darlamine to live in peace. Dai is the only human living on the island. He's been raised by the kindly monster Brass, and Dai's dream is to grow up to be a hero. He gets to be one when Hadlar is resurrected and a previous hero, Avon, helps to train Dai to help in the battle. But Hadlar, now taking now works for the even more powerful Dark King Vern, comes to kill Avon. To save his students, Avon uses a powerful self-sacrifice spell to attack, but is unable to defeat Hadlar. When it seems that Dai and Avon's other student Pop are doomed, a mark appears on Dai's forehead and he suddenly gains incredible power to fend off Hadlar. The two students then go on a journey to avenge Avon and bring peace to the world. So, it's a very, very 90s story, and I'm kind of here for that.
It's very 90s.
Yeah,
Very...
Yeah, I'm curious. Have you played any of the Dragon Quest games?
I had a little... I want to say it was a Game Boy Advance cartridge that was the first 2 Dragon Quest games on it. And I definitely played a little bit of the first one up until I lost in a fight and then realized I had not saved at all in the last, 45 minutes. And that kind of... And the I covered a fair amount of ground, and the concept of having to redo all that kind of sapped my energy, and I put it down. And I have bought the re-releases of the first 3 that are on the Switch, and I fiddled around with the first one a little bit, which is interesting, and also kind of hard to get into because it's like the first JRPG.
Oh yeah, that is true.
And it's I want to return to that, but I think I might try the Is it 11 that's the most
Yes,
recent
yeah,
mainline
11,
entry,
yeah,
or
11 is the
12?
most recent, and it is the one I have played. It is very, very good.
Yeah, I'm gonna like pick up 11 at some point and play that first, because I feel like that's probably gonna endear me to this series a little bit more than trying to. Then, as much as I love digging into the past in mediums, maybe there's a time and a place for giving yourself the easy route.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this series is essentially kind of a spin-off of the Dragon Quest franchise. Which is funny considering that Dragon Quest itself is just partially built off of Toriyama's DNA because he kind of helped come up with the character design stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this making Shonen Jump is just kind of like a weird full circle thing.
Everything's connected.
Yeah. Yeah, at any rate, this did manage to get a dub. Somehow, I'm so kind of surprised that happened. And even more surprised that, rather than our usual hubs of Texas or Los Angeles, it was done in Canada. By our friends at Ocean Studios. Specifically, both Ocean Studio and Blue Water, because those two studios are kind of, I guess, joined at the hip now. I'm still not sure what that whole situation is, but I guess they're just like one entity now.
Are they not traditionally related?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like the whole history surrounding them is kind of weird because in the years of the 2000s, for any of you who weren't around for that, basically if you wanted to get it up in Canada, there were usually two options. You had Ocean in Vancouver, which was usually kind of the higher quality one. You had your folks like Brad Swale, Richie and Cox, those folks. And then there was Blue Water in Calgary, which those tended to be a little on the gear side.
Is it seriously in Calgary?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, that's extremely funny. My context for Calgary is a what the hell? I'm blanking on the name of the group, but they do that Last Will and Temperament thing that Phoenix Wright animation is set to. And one of the jokes in there is that the punchline is that the fortune actually gets led to, I believe it's like the people of Calgary so they can afford to move somewhere decent. It's the whole context I know for Calgary, but this feels like one of these things where like, I feel like if I was Canadian, I'd be laughing a lot harder right now.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, the general consensus was usually like, Ocean, good, Blue Water, kind of, eh. But both studios have somehow met, but some studios met since about the 2000s, and I guess they're just kind of working together now because they joined together on a lot of recent stuff. Most of which most people don't talk about, but yeah.
I get the impression they do a lot of like kids cartoons and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of card games, like your Card Fight Vanguard and those things, which I actually have seen a bit of because I'm kind of a weird like that.
It's fair.
But at any rate, as with any dub, we have ADR staff, and we're going to talk about the directors and the adapter for this dub. On voice direction, we have Carl Williams and Jack Cox, and credited for adaptation is Daniel Younger. Carl Williams, he's done a lot of stuff in Canada, basically everything. Stuff like the aforementioned Card Fight Vanguard, Death Note, Inuyasha, and most funny to tonight's discussion, the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z. Of course. The one that was like, the one that Funimation first produced before they decided, you know what, we can do it in Texas, and that's how the whole Texas scene started. It all comes back to Dragon Ball.
It's all Dragon Ball, man. It's always fucking Dragon Ball.
Yeah. And assisting him, Jack Cox has done direction on such shows as Beyblade Burst, Noise Wild, World Trigger, and the weird Canadian Gintama that we got that is so somehow the best of the Gintama we've gotten so far. And then Daniel Younger, listen, I can only find one adapted I can only find one script credit to his name, but funny enough, it's for the recent dub of Future Boy Conan that we got.
Huh. Did not realize. I didn't know that was a Canadian dub.
Yeah, it was. I think like Discotech. I think like I can't remember if it was Discotech or yeah, I think it might have been Discotech. No, it was like G Kids or Lemon Arts who announced they had it, and then it was like an invading cast. Everyone was like, "Wait, really?"
Yes, no, it was G Kids who picked it up. I do remember that. Also, so fun fact, and slight asterisk because I'm getting this from a wiki, but according to this source, Blue Water Studios is in fact a subsidiary of Ocean. They are like their budget studio.
That would check out.
Which it can't be a coincidence that they're called Ocean and Blue Water. That feels too intentional to be an accident. Anyways.
Yeah. So, honestly, but so yeah, it's been a little bit since I've heard a Canadian joint, but yeah, I really like how this one sounds. It has a very appropriately 90s feel to it, which is kind of going to be the theme here. It very much sounds like the sort of thing you would like wake up to watch on a Saturday morning in your pajamas, but like, you know, a bowl of Captain Crunch or something.
Oh, this definitely took me back to the days of watching your kids WB, and I don't remember if Fox Kids had a block name during the years I was watching it, but like stuff that would show up on there. I actually wanted to ask, since I feel like you're a little more familiar with the show, would you call this a kids anime?
I mean, sort of. I mean, I don't think it's. It's kind of funny because I don't think it's particularly inappropriate. Like, there's nothing in it that's really inappropriate for kids. Like, there is some. Like, there is some minor swearing because, I don't know, I guess Toei. I know it's weird because on the one hand, this does sort of feel like Toei maybe wanted to see if they could get out of Kids Network. But again, there is some swearing, so I don't know, maybe they thought maybe they could gamble on Adult Swim or something. But also, if you could put up with like some light swears, I didn't think there's anything in this year that would be too objectionable to kids. But again, it is still like a Shonen Jump thing, so, you know, it doesn't have any more violence than, you know, say like My Hero or something, so like, it's not explicitly for like little kids, but you can probably show it to like, you know, an 8-year-old or something and it'd be able to follow it fine.
Yeah, this feels like a strong Y7. I have no idea if they're still using that TV rating system, but that's the one I always remember from when I was a kid. This feels like a Y7 show.
Yeah, you know, like a little bit of blood, but not worse than, you know, like Dragon Ball Z in its heyday.
It would have been a good, if not on, you know, your kids WB, it would have been a good choice for like Toonami back when it was a Saturday evening sort of thing.
Yeah, it would have been perfect for Toonami back then. But yeah, I really do like the very 90s energy of the direction, and the script is also pretty fun in that respect. They have like some pretty good one-liners occasionally. A little weird considering Toei commissioned the dub, so you would figure it would be like pretty one-to-one, but they do get, you know, to have a few quips every now and then, and I think that gives it a little extra spice.
It's very fun sounding. It sounds... I don't know why I'm surprised on this. I think it's because I do not keep up with One Piece, but I'm very aware that Toei have a iron fist on all their properties and are clearly very micromanaging. So I think I was pleasantly surprised to just hear how like, oh, this is very like, it passes the test of like, would I have enjoyed this when I was 10? The answer is yes, I would have enjoyed this if I was 10, both because the anime is pretty solid, and this is like a nice, fun, complimentary dub. It's got energy, it's exciting, everybody sounds correct. As we'll get into in a little bit, some of the characters have goofy cartoon voices, which is something that doesn't show up in the kind of anime we usually cover anymore, and it's just nice to hear that.
Yeah, that is definitely a staple to dub. I appreciate just a very goofy cartoon voice in a occasional way. But yeah, I really do like everything. If there's like maybe one like minor nitpick I would have, it's that between like the two directors, there are a couple of points where I could like maybe tell like which director's on what episode, because Carl Williams has been around for like a very long time, since like the 90s, so So obviously he's like very experienced in what he's doing. And so, Jack Cox has also been doing stuff for a while, but his stuff is a little more recent. So I guess between the two, Carl Williams' direction is kind of a little more put together.
No more.
So that can sometimes be like a little distracting during like maybe some of the more dramatic moments. But for the most part, I think. But for the most part, I don't have like too many problems with how it's directed, and I do think everyone sounds pretty good.
I'd agree.
Oh, uh, and so on that note, I guess we probably should get to the characters. And for the sake of keeping the discussion easy, we're basically breaking this down into two sections: the bad guys and the good guys. Yeah. So starting with the bad guys, we have the leaders of the Dark Army. So we have Dark King Vern, Hadlar, Crocodile, Deborah, Yunkel, Blizzard, Miss Vern, and Baron. And so Dark King Vern, as obviously advertised, is the Dark King. He is the ruler of the underworld and the current leader of the Dark Army. We don't get to see what he looks like for a while, but he just has like very clear shadowy overlord energy, just very Dr. Claw vibes, which I appreciate.
He's gonna get you next time, Gadget. or die.
Yeah. And then we have Hadlar, the former Dark Lord who once tried to conquer the world, and now he serves Vern as the commander of the Dark Army and seeks to defeat Dai before he grows too powerful. And then we have Crocodile, the commander of the Furfang Legion, also known as the Beast King. He's one of the first generals Hadlar sends after Dai, and he has a pretty strong sense of honor. He's a cool crocodile guy. And then Zamora, the commander of the Mystic Legion, he's kind of a slimy little weasel who's willing to use whatever other hidden tactics will let him win. He's just a very slimy dude. He kind of sucks.
He's evil Yoda.
That is... I mean, weirdly accurate.
He doesn't talk like Yoda, but otherwise it's evil Yoda.
Yeah.
Little bastard.
And then we have Hilgul, the commander of the Undead Legion. He is actually a former disciple of Avon, like Dai, Pop, and Mam, but he resents Avon because, like Dai, Hilgul was raised by monsters, and he believes that Avon was responsible for killing his father when he first defeated Hadlar, so he's understandably upset about that. And then we have Flazar, the commander of the Blizzblaze Legion. He's a monster made of both fire and ice, which is just extremely funny. And then Mistford, the commander of the Shadow Legion. He's very mysterious. Just has like a very big robe. He doesn't speak a lot. Just very big mystery guy. And then Baron, the commander of the Dragon Legion. He doesn't have too much to do in these episodes, but he has a very cool mustache.
Mm-hmm. Fine bit of facial hair right there.
So playing Dark King Vern, we have Paul Dobson. For Hadlar, we have Brian Drummond. For Crocodile, we have Jason Simpson. For Zamora, we have Lee Takar. For Hyunko, we have Vincent Tong. For Flazar, we have Brian Drummond again. For Mistford, we have Alex Tahara. And for Baron, we have Dean Reed. So Paul Dobson, it's a name you might have heard if you've listened to some Canuck stuff. He's Vulcan in Ethnophone in the movie, Miyoko the Flea, and Naraku in Inuyasha. And also the most evil and despicable of Rumiko Takahashi's characters, Apasai and Rama One Half.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Jeez. So he's been around a while is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
And then, Brian Drummond, another name you might have heard if you've listened to some good stuff. He's Betty in Black Lagoon, Alistair in Shakugan no Shana Season 1. And again, what is particularly funny for tonight's discussion, Vegeta in the Ocean Up of Dragon Ball Z. Extremely amusing because this is pretty much just him getting to play Vegeta again. Lee Takar has played such characters as Cobra in Unborn Senki W, Power Taku in Dragon Drive, and General Durahan in Monster Rancher. Vincent Tong has played such characters as Orlo in Future Boy Conan, the Kazami in World Trigger, and something I find extremely amusing, Dodo Matsuda in Death Note. This is,
Oh no.
just extremely sarcastic choice of, what if we got Matsuda to play Sasuke? Just extremely amusing casting choice.
Love it.
Yeah. And Brian Diamond has done everything I already mentioned, but also Ryuk in Death Note, which is, again, funny because it's kind of him doing the Ryuk voice, but maybe like a little raspier. And then Alex Nahara has played such characters as Greg Day in Beat 'em on Fire Blast, Shinsuke Tatsugi in Negan Tamadab, and Neo Delandi in Mobile Suit Gundam 00. And then lastly, Dean Raymond has played such characters as Stream Berserkers in Beat 'em on Fire Blast, Better Clay in Beyblade Burst Evolution, and the character I know him best for, Dutch in Black Lagoon.
Huh. How about that?
Like all these folks have been around a while, some around longer than I thought, because I actually didn't recognize half of these names. But that's the fun of doing those and stuff.
Yeah, aside from Brian Drummond's the only Canadian. Brian Drummond and who is it? Ian Richard Cox, the go-to Takahashi protagonist guy. They're like the only Canadian actors I know off the top of my head.
I recognize Paul Dobson, but like again, he's also in a lot of Takahashi stuff. So like, yeah. But yeah, I like a lot of these. But I could probably start with like Murata Mystery because I don't really talk too much in these batch of episodes. But I think for what we get, they both sound appropriate for their roles. Like, D. Riemann has a very like deep, booming voice, and he kind of gets to do that here, which I appreciate. And then Alex Sahara does the whole like mystery man thing pretty well.
Yeah, Dean does a good job of making Baran seem... he's a dude, but like, what's his deal? Why is he here? The Dark Lord, the Dark King doesn't like humans. Why is he letting this guy run his show? He's like authoritative, but also like there's a little bit of some mystery about him. Like what's going on, which I'm sure I'll find out if I watch more than 13 episodes.
His deal gets explained in like the next batch of episodes.
Beautiful. Don't have to wait very long. And yeah, Alex does just fine with the whole. He doesn't. Does he giggle? He makes noise. I'm trying to remember what it is.
He makes some noise, and he does have like a few speaking lines, but otherwise he's just kind of like there looming in the background.
He's there to be ominous.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex does a good job. He's ominous.
Yeah. And then I guess Zamora and Crocodile do both very fun performances. Luchakar, again, this gets to be a really, really slimy weasel, and it's very amusing.
I hate him so. He's terrible. He sucks. I don't like him. He's really bad.
Because in the first, in one of the like first major battles, Hadlar sends Crocodile to deal with Dai. Crocodile has a little bit of trouble, so he ends up going. To Zamora for help, and Zamora's like, Dai clearly has a weakness, where if you, take his grandpa, hold him hostage, you can get him to do whatever you want.
just threaten his loved ones. It's easy.
And Crocodile, on the other hand, is not really too keen about doing all that, but he decides to go along with it because he's kind of upset about losing. But then wouldn't you know it, like, Dai and Pop kind of convince him, like, maybe it's not a very good thing to cheat. You should fight fair.
He may be a villain, but he's got nobility, damn it. He has standards.
I do. Yeah, I really do like Dave's. I really do like what Jason's doing as Crocodile, and it's really a lot of fun. I'm not very I'm honestly not all that familiar with him, but I really do like the voice he gets from Crocodile. It has like this very big booming energy. It's this really kind of deep, gravelly cartoon voice you don't get to hear a lot in most anime.
It's very like it's very much in my mind. I would always think of like '80s cartoon character kind of voice. He doesn't sound exactly like Bebop and Rocksteady, but if there was a third one based on some other animal, he'd probably sound like this. But I also give him some, like, he's very fun and he sounds like a big scaly monster. But I also do appreciate that he's able to give Crocodile some like real pathos when the time calls for it. Which I feel like is not easy to do when you're doing a big silly cartoon voice. But I think he gets it across.
He does do a very good job of like getting across the whole like honor-bound warrior thing, where he really wants to fight die fairly, and then kind of gets upset when he can't do that, and has to kind of go back on that for his pride, only to realize, I really should try to fight fairly. And then he eventually accepts this when he loses, and I think that Jason gets that across pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything I kind of appreciate is that, like, I feel like in most other shows, he'd kind of be like a really fun one-note villain, but you otherwise wouldn't see him again. I think I appreciated that he gets to come back.
Yeah. It'd be very easy to just have him, like, he gets his butt kicked, and that is the last we ever heard of that dude. And it is nice that he actually gets, like, a little bit of an arc to himself.
Yeah, he gets to come back and, like, be redeemed a bit.
Yeah. Not everyone in the Dark Army's terrible. Some of them just fell in with their lot because of who they are.
Yeah, and then I guess that probably would be a good segue into talking about Hyunko, who is also kind of there for like similar reasons, but also because he's a little bit edgy. Because of course you have to have an edgy boy in here. It's the 90s.
It's the rule. It's the rules. You gotta have a equal opposite type young person protagonist for your young protagonist to fight against. And who better than one from a similar situation that ended up going in a completely different direction?
Yeah, it's funny because I know I said Sasuke, but in truth he's probably closer to Iki from Saint Seiya.
That sounds right, actually. Yeah. Also, I understand his pain. If I was raised by a skeleton, I'd be mad too if someone killed him. That's just rude.
I do think Vincent does a really. He does a pretty good job of selling, all the edge where, like, he's currently got a chip on his shoulder because he's mad about what happened to his dad. And more than willing to like take it out on the rest of humanity. I think that Vincent kind of gets that raised across pretty well, and it makes for like some pretty good interactions when he deals with like Dai and the others.
He gives one of the. You might get, at least of the part I've seen, he might give the strongest dramatical performance. I think just because Yuckle has like such a strong like hook to his character. Just if for no other reason, just kind of being like he's the inversion of Dai. He's the guy raised by monsters or that ended badly, and he didn't have a happy childhood. And he's just got a lot of anger and boiling over resentment. And I think Vincent does a good job of making him feel very. Even when he's calm, you can tell that he's just very unhappy.
Yeah.
He doesn't like how his life has turned out, and he can't do anything about it.
I agree. I do think Vincent gets that across pretty well. It does make his mental clash with Dai interesting, where he does try to take that resentment out at him, only to eventually realize what actually happened, which I am kind of glad he gets redeemed. I do. And I guess part of me sort of wishes they found some other way to do that.
Besides having him Terminator 2 himself in a pit of lava.
Okay, look, this is a show to jump thing. Like, I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you he's not actually.
We didn't see a body at the end, right? Like, he'll be fine. Who among us has not dipped themselves in lava and come out on the other side? Okie dokie.
So there's that. But I mean, I was mostly talking about like the whole like conch thing seemed. It's a little convenient, but again, you know, it's the 90s, so I guess it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But either way, I do. I do think Vincent did a good job with Hyungo, and it's something last time when we talked about Vincent tonight, but I do think he did a pretty good job distinguishing himself from the other character he plays. Like if I hadn't looked at the credits, I probably would not have been able to immediately tell the same person. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, the Spectre we just have like, okay, actually, you know, I could probably talk about Vern before we talk about Hadlar, because obviously Hadlar has more to do with episodes.
Yes.
But I do like Paul. I do like Paul Thompson as Vern. Again, he's just kind of like a very big, shadowy overlord so far, but he does a very good job of like reading that specific kind of energy to him. Where like every time he speaks, it's just got your attention just kind of immediately drawn to him.
You know, they made the right choice as far as like, you know, for a character who I don't believe we don't see him see him at any point. He's mostly just a voice for this stretch of the show, if memory serves.
Yeah.
And Paul does a good job of having a lot of presence just in his voice alone.
It is very intimidating and scary, which makes it a lot of fun.
Again, very, 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 very Dr. Claw, very evil mastermind. Who he doesn't go and cause trouble himself. He has a lot of lackeys to do that, but he comes off as a menacing figure nonetheless.
That's pretty amusing. But then what is also very amusing, Brian Drummond as Hadlar, who is just clearly having a lot of fun getting to essentially play Vegeta again.
Which is funny, because when he first shows up, my first thought when I looked at him, it's like, you look like Piccolo in the game, don't you? You're Piccolo through, like, the manga artist style, and then whoever was the character designer for this anime's style, aren't you? Maybe it's just that he's green. I don't know. He looks. I could see the more Piccolo looking version of him inside.
You can kind of see it. Brian Drummond is just he's a lot of fun as a Hadlar. It's just kind of a very obvious, like, exactly what it says on the tin kind of bad guy.
No, he's wonderfully just hammy and menacing. Just like, it's a bad dude. He's the former Dark Lord. He's not a good guy. We're gonna leave all that empathy and nuance and emotional complexity to the likes of Crocodile and Hyunkel. He's just rotten. If maybe a little annoyed that he's not the top dog anymore, but hey, he's not dead. Who cares?
Yeah, that is kind of the thing I appreciate about Drummond's performance and why I kind of compared it to Vegeta a bit, because Vegeta also kind of had a chip on his shoulder for a while, in that he was kind of really upset that he was kind of one of Dr. Frieza, and Hadlar gives across a similar kind of energy. Like, he's not as bitter about it, but he is clearly like a little annoyed that he's kind of a flunky now.
I don't know where the story goes, obviously, but I can smell a sort of Starscream-esque I'm going to betray the boss so I can be the boss storyline in his future. No idea if that's going to happen, but I can see it.
His character does go in a very interesting direction, I will say that.
Alright.
I really do like. I really do dig Brad Drummond's performance a lot. It's just, he has a lot of energy to it. It really is kind of fun seeing him kind of start off kind of a little bit more calm and menacing, and then it kind of gradually unravels and interacts a bit more with like Jet and Amon. He gets to go a little bit more ham as it goes on. It's really a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And, but I did want to give credit to I'm not super familiar with Dragon Quest. I have a vague knowledge of kind of the plot line, mostly in that there's the good guys and there's a bad guy, and the good guys fight the good guy, etc. But as someone who is not very familiar, I did like that, at least in his fights with Dai, when Dai is able to get the upper hand on him, I thought Brian did a good job of communicating, like, oh, this isn't supposed to happen. This is wrong. He did a good job of, like, establishing stakes for this world through his performance in that way. And I enjoyed that. It helped build up what's going on in here.
Yeah,
for some... Mm-hmm.
That actually is a aspect of the translation I forgot to mention previously, but it's something I do appreciate is that if you have played the games, this show actually does use a lot of the terminology for the games. Like all the item names and like spells and all that are like essentially the same.
I appreciate a franchise with a good solid localization Bible you can turn to.
The show does kind of follow a little bit of video game logic in that respect. Like they do call things items and whatnot. And again, like all this, and again, like most of the spell names are the same. And even like the whole concept of a hero, it's not even like like chosen what it is. It's like no, a hero is just kind of like a thing it can be in a Dragon Quest.
That's very. I know that. That's very. I read a little bit of the beginning of the manga because it's on the Shonen Jump app now. And actually, kind of read more of it. I'm wondering if it keeps that up because that's a very popular style now. But I feel like that was not a thing in. I want to say the manga's from the '90s originally, maybe the late '80s.
Yeah.
That was not really a thing yet, and it's very funny to me that this like random Dragon Quest spinoff is maybe the protogenitor to this particular style of fantasy anime that's now like just so I've picked up random light novels that are in a fantasy setting and they're like, this is just a video game but a book. I see. All right. Yeah, that's where you're going.
It is funny because I did also read like a little bit of the manga on the Jump app. And it's kind of funny because the manga does have like the characters have like levels and stuff. And the anime does kind of mostly admit that, I guess, I don't know. I keep the setting a little bit more natural, which I guess kind of works for what it's doing.
It probably helps that it's not as direct a tie-in anymore. I don't know when this was made, but at least right now there's no obvious, like the most recent Dragon Quest thing I think that came out was technically Yakuza 7. The extended tribute to Dragon Quest games that is in its own right.
Yeah. Well, Dragon Quest 12 did get announced a while ago, but I don't know when that's coming. But I do appreciate that there is some consistency in there. It does make it. It does make it a lot of fun because you have characters like chatting attack names like confrades and stuff, and that's just it sounds very silly, but it's fun.
It is fun. That's. I do like that it's not. It doesn't try and stop being too video gamey. It knows what it is and it's fine with that. I don't know why they would try and hide that in localization, but I'm glad they didn't. Like it's just it's a video game anime. It's fine.
Yeah.
Somebody will go see a cover of Dragon Quest XI in a store and it's like, this kind of looks like that guy from that anime I watched. I should buy this.
It's funny you say that because like the protagonist of Dragon Quest XI actually looks more like Trunks for some reason.
Now that I do know, but they got the same like platinum. They got the same like silver platinum like hair color. But yes, he does look like Trunks for whatever reason. I guess I don't know. They got tired of the protagonist looking like a generic Toriyama character. They want something a little more specific. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Toriyama was just bored when he was doing the character designs for that one, decided to have fun with people. Who can say?
Alright, speaking of video game characters, again, obviously you can have bad guys, but not some heroes, so we should probably talk about the heroes party. Okay, let me pull my notes back up. Okay, so it is time to talk about Heroes Party. We have Dai, Pop, Leona, Ma'am, Avon, Gomachan, and Grandpa Brass. So Dai is our protagonist, a young boy who washed up on Dirtline Island as a baby and was raised by monsters. He was raised to become a mage, but he dreams of becoming a hero and gets his chance when the hero tutor Amon appears, and he becomes one of his disciples in order to someday defeat the Dark Lord. And then we have Pop. He's a mage who is another disciple of Avon. He's kind of a coward and a little bit of a wimp. Just a very wimpy dude, but he's a lot of fun. And then we have Leona, the Princess of Papnica. She comes to Durmline Island in order to complete sage training so she can someday ascend the throne, but while she's there, some politics happen. Her vassals try to assassinate her, as you do. Dai saves her, and the two of them become acquainted after that. And then Ma'am is another disciple of Avon. Both her parents were members of Avon's party, and she was trained as a warrior priest. But unlike them, she doesn't have the ability to do attack spells on her own. So instead, she has a magic bullet gun, which lets her shoot magic out a bit like a gun. It's pretty cool. And then we have Avon himself, who proclaims himself to be the hero tutor, and he's kind of like a weirdly dorky looking guy. He has glasses and his hair looks like a wig. It's kind of funny.
He's very, very unassumingly designed.
Yeah.
Him being the hero actually surprised me. I assumed the punchline was going to be is that he was another bad guy in disguise or something because of how dorky he looked.
Yes, he was in fact the former hero who originally defeated the Dark Lord. But while he's training Dai, things don't go particularly well for him. Again, as the 90s. And then we have Gomachan, who is a golden metal slime, who is Dai's companion. That's a very cute little guy. And then lastly, we have Grandpa Brass, Grandpa Brass, who is a lump shaman who is the one who originally found Dai's baby and raised him in order to become a mage while kind of shooting down all his desires to become a hero because he's kind of stubborn. So playing Dai, we have Sabrina Peter. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Hopefully I'm right. Pop is played by Cole Howard. Leona is played by Carrie Sheridan. Mab is played by Deanna Karina. Avon is played by Vincent Tong again. Gomachan is played by Michelle Molux. And Grandpa Brax is played by Al Willows. Sabrina Pitt has played such characters as Nika Aoi in Beyblade Burst, Naomi Kaido in Future Card Buddy Fight, and Conan in Future Boy Conan. Cole Howard has played such characters as Leif in Dotora Quest, Shinpachi Shimura in Gintama, and most interesting for me, Shin in Kingdom. I'm curious, do you remember what went on with the original dub for seasons 1 and 2 of Kingdom?
No, remind me.
Originally, Funimation licensed Kingdom and they simulcasted it, but it didn't do very well because I guess people were kind of upset about the whole 3D CG thing Perot was doing for the entirety of season 1. And Funimation ended up not dubbing it themselves, so it just kind of sat on their streaming service for a while. And then, one day, out of the blue, they announced a DVD release for it. And the DVD release had a dub. But for some reason, the Japanese track was considered the default option, and the dub was just kind of an add-on. People were very confused as to why. And then everyone heard the dub. The dub was done in a Canadian studio. It was not Ocean or Blue Water. I actually don't remember which one it was. But it was definitely a very kind of low budget effort, and that dub didn't sound very good. But cool. But
now, this part I remember. Now you're describing it. This I remember.
That was not very good, but Cold Howard was in it as the main character. And, well, everyone else in that dub was kind of rough. He did a pretty good job there, so I'm glad his career has picked up since then.
That's nice. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Sub blue water Canadian dubs. That's yeah. Oh man.
And then getting back on track there. Diana Karina has played such characters as Sarah in Future Boy Conan, and Nozomi Kako in World Trucker Season 2, and Liche in Ranma 1/2, Big Triple, and Necron, because I guess he's also been around for a while. And then Vincent Tog has done everything I've mentioned before, and also, just because I found it while I was looking up on ANN, apparently he was Zuko in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. I guess I didn't feel like getting Dante Bosco back for that.
We don't have Dante Bosco money for the dumb kart racing game. Get the Canadians to do it. Sidebar, did you do Kelly's credits?
No, Kelly Sheridan has, she's been around for a long time, and she's played his characters as Nana K and Nana. Best boy, best girl, Uki Okinoji in Ranma 1/2. But the thing most 2000s people would probably know her for, she is Sango in Inuyasha.
There you go.
Yeah. And then, Michelle Deluxe has played such characters as Rika Tatsunagi in Cardfight Vanguard, Fiona in Scan to Go, and something I found pretty amusing, Hannah Whitehouse, aka Cure White in Pretty Cure, specifically the dub of Pretty Cure that Toei commissioned back in the day in Canada for some reason. And
well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they probably commissioned that dub in Canada. For some reason, they commissioned this dub in Canada. It's cheaper than the Americans.
Yeah, I don't remember what the exact story with that dub was. I think they had originally. I always heard they had originally tried to pitch Pretty Cure to 4Kids or something, and then that didn't fall through. So I guess it just went. We'll just do our own dub, and that's how we got that dub. The only Pretty Cure dub that Toei has ever done themselves. And
I do appreciate their instincts that, wait a minute, we have a bunch of popular children's media in Japan. Why can't we sell this internationally? They just don't seem to be very good at it.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't feel like ever trying again because we got Glitter Forts instead, and yeah. It's very unfortunate.
What you gonna do?
And then Alec Willows has played such characters as Tarantulas in Transformers Beast Wars, the Mayor in Powerpuff Girls Z, and again, very amusing for the purposes of this show, Oolong in the Ocean Dub of Dragon Ball Z.
Who is he in Beast Wars?
Tarantulas. I honestly haven't seen Beast Wars since I was 5, so I wouldn't remember any of the characters.
I think I vaguely know who you're talking about, but anyways. I keep forgetting Powerpuff Girls Z is a real thing and not an internet joke.
No, it's real, and it was dubbed in Canada. So the way they dubbed it was also kind of weird because it's a magical girl thing for whatever reason, and in the Japanese version. The girls who have actual names, and then they transform into Bubbles, Sad Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup, and that sort of thing. And then in the dub, for some reason, they just decided to make that their actual names, which again feels weird because they're kind of trying to do the whole secret identity thing because it's a magical girl show. It's just a very weird decision. I don't know why they did that.
It's to not confuse small children, maybe. I don't know. That whole thing sounds very confused to begin with.
It is a very weird project. I guess I can probably start with Gobachan and Grandpa Brass. Obviously, Gobachan just really kind of squeaks a lot, but I do think Shell does a pretty good job of that.
It's a fine Pokemon performance.
Yeah,
Just a lot of noises that don't necessarily mean anything in particular.
yeah, it is just very much Pokemon, but I do think it's very cute.
That's adorable. Quality mascot character voice. No notes. Good job.
And then I do like how Aquilon's a lot of his grandma Brass. He has the right amount of like kind of sour old man energy to him.
Oh, he's a big grump. He was a what did you say his monster type was? He's a lump sorcerer or lump shaman.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a lump shaman. I think.
I was wondering what he was supposed to be. That's funny.
Yeah, like a lot of the Dragon Quest monster names are all like extremely silly. So, like we didn't talk about, but like the skeleton, but like Yoko's skeleton dad is called an armful.
And he has 6 arms. That's great. So you're telling me Toriyama worked on this? I would never have guessed.
But yeah, I do. But yeah, I do like how well his performance he does. Again, he gives off like the kind of crotchety old man energy really well, and I do like a lot of his interactions with Dai, where he's just like very upset that Dai refuses to follow in his footsteps and be made like him.
He does a very good job of walking on that line between being like a paternal grandpa and sort of demanding you need to work harder grandpa. He's
no, I can go ahead.
He spends a lot of time challenging Dai, but you can tell that like he's doing this because he's trying to go for the best for Dai, which maybe includes like, don't be the hero, son. It's not a great job. Yeah, it looks sexy now, but then you get killed saving a bunch of children on an island no one's heard of.
He does eventually come around, and I thought that was pretty sweet. And I did think he had a lot of good interactions with Dai and Winter Vaughn that I thought were pretty fun. And he also does get to briefly come back during the whole crocodile fight where he's held hostage, and it didn't feel very bad for him there.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I'm glad he did at least get the kinds of break after that, but that whole fight was pretty wild. And then Vincent Tong as Yvonne. Again, he is also the show with Hyoko, but he does do a pretty good job of distinguishing between the two of them. Like, Hyoko sounds, a little bit more like anime anti-more like you would expect. And then Yvonne, on the other hand, is kind of, a little bit more over the top, like, kind of a very silly adult.
Big hammy man. This is one of the reasons why I initially thought the twist was going to be that he was a villain at some point. He seemed too silly to be a good guy. even though the opening credits more or less hinted who he is anyways, I just wasn't paying that much attention, I guess. He's great though. I think he's very funny. I like him a lot.
He is extremely silly.
Mm-hmm. No, this stuff's a little too even for me to have like a really strong favorite performance, but I think Vincent as Yvonne comes closest. He's very entertaining. I mean, he's playing teacher. He's a little bit of a troll, the way I find very entertaining. But he also gets his like big splashy like Leomon, I'm going to sacrifice myself so y'all can live moment, which I thought was very well done.
I do think he handled like the whole big sacrifice pretty well, and then before that, he does a pretty good job of like switching between being kind of like the big goofball and then like the serious mentor, whatever he needs to be. Particularly whenever he's kind of like trying to encourage Pop to like get off his butt and actually do something.
It's Pop. I know you can do better than this. Just believe in yourself. It's not hard. I believe in you every day.
Just very clearly trying to be motivational there.
No, he comes across as like an actual good teacher, which You know, it's important to the character, obviously, but I think Vincent does a good job of making him feel like he's funny and he's noble, and he does sincerely seem like a guy who is trying to bestow information on these kids in a way where, like, I want to push you, but I don't want to push you away. That comes through the performance, and I like that. It's nice.
Yeah, I do like that. And another thing I appreciate about performance is that he also doubles as the narrator for the show, and I think he does a pretty good job at that too.
Oh, there you go. What else? Oh, I also like the little exchange he had with Hyunkel's dad, where it's like, why aren't you killing me? And it's like, that thing you're wearing around your neck, a child made that. And if you have a child hanging around here long enough to make you things, you can't be that bad of a guy. It was nice.
Clearly that's a very good dude. It's a shame he's not around very long.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's called The Adventures of Dai, not The Adventures of Amon. We already had The Adventures of Amon. It's called Dragon Quest, and you can play it on your Famicom for I don't know what a Famicom game went for in the mid to late 80s, but whatever.
Yeah, and then Diana Karina's man. I find the performance pretty fun. Not an actor I'm like as familiar with, but I like the performance a lot. And kind of like the right amount of like spunk to it to bounce off of Diet Pop really well.
I like her performance a lot. She's like the right level of just like spunky and active. Very much very much. Let's like this character knows what they're doing. She is. I don't know if she's the most competent, because Pop's really the only one of the three who's kind of a bit of a layabout, and that's mostly because he's a little bit of a coward. But she feels like the one where, like, if you have to put someone in charge, put her in charge.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she knows what she's doing. I think Diana gets that across as like someone who is, she is also a young hero, but she's also like very put together and has had to figure out a lot of things on her own and knows how to apply that to other things. I had a dumb thought while watching this. Should we make anything of the fact that Dai's two partners are named Mom and Pop? Or is that just a funny linguistic coincidence?
I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm pretty sure Toriyama didn't have any, like, direct say in this, but it does kind of feel like a very Toriyama thing in a way.
It does, doesn't it?
But yeah, I like her performance a lot. Like you were saying, she does kind of come up as, like, the most competent between the three early on, which is a lot of fun. And she does have some pretty good back and forth for, like, Pop in particular. Who again, as I mentioned before, is just kind of a layman, and she's like clearly very annoyed with that. But she also does kind of get him to like kind of toughen up a bit by following her example, which is kind of nice. And then like when it comes to the more dramatic beats, like when she's first introduced, and we find out she's one of Yvonne's former disciples, she doesn't initially know what happened to Yvonne, so. Dai and Pop kind of don't know how to break the news to her, so they kind of try to dance around her for a while, and then she kind of finds that offhand while, like, overhearing them, and I think Diana does a pretty good job of kind of, like, selling that whole sense of loss there.
You feel her pain.
Yeah. And then later on when they're, like, going off to fight Crocodile, and Pop's like a little bit too scared to fight. I think like Diana does also do a pretty good job of kind of getting like the frustration across, where it's like, come on man, what are you doing? You gotta come and fight. And he's just a little bit too much of a coward to actually stand up and do anything.
I don't remember when this happens, but there's the bit where like Pop has unwittingly abandoned Dai in something, and when Mom finds him, she's like, "Did you abandon him to fight a monster by himself? Did you do that?" She's just like reading him the riot actor. It's obvious coward is. It's very entertaining.
But I do like Diana a lot, and she does it's pretty fun performance, and I'm glad she does also get to do quite a bit in later episodes, so that'll be fun. And then Kelly Sheridan as Leona. Kelly Sheridan is an actor I'm pretty familiar with, and I'm glad I actually get to talk about her because I do like her in a lot of the things I've heard her in. And she always has a pretty good job of doing kind of having kind of doing the whole spunky heroine thing a lot too, but in a way that's a little bit different from with Ma'am, where Ma'am is like a little spunky, but she's also pretty nice, whereas Leona is just kind of like very blunt, which is kind of amusing. When she's first introduced, she's kind of like jabbing at Dai a lot, and they have a pretty good amount of back and forth, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, she's how do I put this? She's good as coming across as like she's supposed to be regal, but not like a snob. Like she's a princess and she knows it, but she's not just like she's not a. You've seen the character type where, like, they're royalty and they are an asshole because of it. And I don't really think that's how Leona's written, but I think Kelly, like, the character's not written that way, and Kelly, I think, does a good job of emphasizing that aspect. Like, she is important, but not necessarily in a, like, I view myself as superior to all of you plebeians who follow me around.
Yeah, she does do a pretty good... Yeah, she does do a pretty good job of getting that kind of energy across, and especially like a lot of her early interactions with Dai, where like she's kind of annoyed at first, and he's like like doing all the formalities. He's like, no, you don't need to do all that.
We're all friends here on this island full of monsters. No need for unneeded propriety.
Yeah, and then I guess like also pretty, and I don't think she also does a pretty good job like when the whole assassination plot comes up and she has him like be the authoritative figure and like put that down. I think she does a pretty good job there too.
I look forward to her returning whenever Leona shows up again.
Yeah, like literally like the episode after this one she shows up again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and then getting down to our final two characters, we have our main character and also Dai.
Pop does feel main character shaped.
Yeah, he does kind of weirdly have that energy to him, which is kind of fun. As mentioned before, he does kind of start off the story as being kind of like a layabout and a coward. I think that Cole does a really good job of getting that across. Where this guy just comes up as like he's clearly slacking off and not taking things very seriously.
Yeah, between the three of them, they have like it's not exact, obviously, but I feel like they have a little bit of that sort of time-boken like trio of bad guys. Shape about them. If maybe the difference being is that Pop is both of the dim-witted henchmen at once.
Yeah, that would check out.
Yeah, no, Cole. I like Cole's performance a lot, both because he gets to be. He's funny, but also like when he is like feeling like anxious and down on himself, that actually comes across as like sincere, or at least sincere enough for this silly adventure show for kids. Like you get the sense that like he is not merely there's stakes to it. Like he's not just afraid because it's funny, he's afraid because he's actually concerned that he is in way over his head and he's going to like die or get someone killed.
That's what it comes up during the battle with Crocodile, where like where Dai and Mama were ready to go, but he's like but he decides to run off on his own, and that doesn't go very well.
Can't abandon your comrades, friend. It's not good. People yell at you.
And speaking of time Okada, it's very amusing that that early on in the show we're introduced to like this trio of characters who are kind of very Team Rocket-y, like they pretend to be heroes, but they kind of suck. But then when Pop runs off on his own because he's too scared to fight, he runs into them and he runs into the mage of that group who ends up revealing himself that he actually trained under a mage to I guess like join a hero's party someday as well. But he was a bit too much of a coward for that and kind of ran away at the first opportunity. And he kind of sees that Pop is in a similar situation to him, and he's like, nah, you know what, son, you're better than that. Don't be like me.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think that Cole does a pretty good. I think that Cole does a pretty good job running the whole exchange. And there's a weird amount of pathos to that for like what would otherwise be a pretty silly show.
Yeah, that's something I appreciate about this. It feels, to make a very arbitrary comparison from shows from my childhood, it feels a little more like Digimon than Pokemon, where Pokemon has stakes, but they're all episode to episode, and Digimon has stakes that actually evolve and change. And I, even as a dumb 10-year-old who didn't know any better, I figured out that the latter of these was more interesting, and I was going to watch that more consistently. And I appreciate finding something kind of in this style that also is kind of in that sense. Like, no, we're telling a grand story. We should have, build up and foreshadowing and so on. I think you can see that in stuff like Cole's performance, where like he is a coward, but that is not a static attribute. That's something that's going to change and grow as the story goes on.
It even gets to change during that arc where he does eventually decide to turn around and like come to help Dai and Man, when they're in the break of things. And I think Nicole does a really good job of kind of handling everything Pop's going through in that moment, where he's still really scared and really thinks he's in over his head. But in that moment he knows that like he'll feel even worse being mad and sad. But I think that Cole does a really good job of getting that paper across really well.
Good times.
I'm glad he got to do something cool in that moment. It was pretty fun. But yeah, I really do like Cole's performance a lot. And again, I'm really glad I get to talk about him in this show because again, I said before, that Kingdom was pretty rough, but he was very good in that. And I like him in a lot of the other things I've heard him in, so I'm really glad I get to talk about him. Even after I wish it was in more things.
All we need to do is get, I guess, Viz to commission more Canadian dubs. Or G Kids, I guess. They got one of their properties there. Maybe they'll go back to that well again in the future.
We got the power of remote recording. I mean, we got a couple of Canadian folks in some remote dubs. Somebody can hire him.
That's true.
Then, last but not least, Sabrina Pitt has died. Funny enough, going into this show, I had actually assumed I had never heard of her before, but then, like, I was in credits and saw that she was in things like Future Card Buddy Fighter. I was like, oh, I have heard her before, because, again, I was one of those weirdos who watched that show for some reason. And I thought she was pretty solid in that show for what was kind of an otherwise an okay Blue Water dub. So I'm glad she kind of got to come back and do something big like this.
No, she's delightful. Good kid hero protagonist voice. Just like so, energetic, full, sort of vim and vigor, and she really wants to be the best. The hero in this case. And I don't know. I think my favorite bit is when they go to they have to stay overnight at an inn, and it's like, oh, there's a heroes party in one of these other rooms, and they're like, oh, good, I want to meet them. And he's knocking on the door, and it turns out it's the like fake hero party that they had harassed earlier. It's like, hey, wait, it's you guys. What are you doing here?
I do think that Farida does a really good job of getting across, like, a lot of that kid hero enthusiasm and energy really well. And, like, especially in a lot of the early episodes where he's still, kind of on the island of monsters and he doesn't really know how to interact with people properly. I think that Sabrina kind of gets that awkwardness across really well, and it's a lot of fun in those early episodes. But then, like, when he has to When has to be the big dramatic hero. I think that Sabrina also does that really well. And also, does a really good job like streaming attack names and whatnot. It's pretty cool.
No, there's good shouting. Which I feel like in a show like this where people do actually like state what they're doing, that's important. And she gets to show some good dramatic chops during the more dramatic parts, like when Yvonne is sacrificing himself and Brass is being threatened. I'm always a little impressed when people can do, obviously I'm just putting on a little boy voice for this. I'm always impressed by people who can act consistently through that. That always feels like one of those things that is not... It is not hard per se, but it feels like the kind of thing that's easy to screw up if you're not good at it. And I appreciate it when I see good examples of it. It's nice.
I do appreciate that again. While this is kind of very 90s thing, we do. There are moments where Dai gets to be a little bit more empathetic than you might expect from this kind of show. Like when he first meets Yuko and he hears about his backstory, and he's like, "Oh wow, this guy is just like me," and he feels like a little bad for him because it's like, "Oh well." If I were in that situation, I lost my grandpa, maybe I would have turned out like he did.
Yeah. Oh, that you look at a guy. Oh, that's my bad future. That's where things went poorly.
But I think Sabrina does a really good job here. I really like her performance a lot, and I'm really glad she got to get a big role like this. Hopefully, she gets to do more stuff like this in the future.
Yeah. No, this is if nothing else, I look forward to watching more of this show.
Yeah. I guess that's a pretty good way to segue into final thoughts.
This dub's a lot of fun. Like, this is a nice, fun, like, kid-friendly adventure show. This feels like something that would be good to, like, like an 8 to 10-year-old who wants something with, excitement and fighting, but it's not too intense. This is a good choice for that. I think the dub's really well done. I think the writing it's appropriately punchy. It can get some actual like drama and pathos when it needs to be. I think the acting is very strong throughout. The only complaint I really have is that it's not on a... This is begging to... Maybe not terrestrial TV anymore, because I feel like that's not really where you go for... It's not really go to make money anymore, but like this is begging to get picked up by a more widely seen streaming service in some capacity. Even if it's just as like, one of the endless number of things that Netflix will pick up for like a couple years and then drop when the contract ends. Like, that would be a nice fit for this, just as like something that'd be a little more easily accessible than what it is right now.
But I kind of feel the same here. This is a show this is a show I ended up liking a lot. Like one of my Twitter mutuals, Mendoza, was pretty excited for this when he heard this was getting announced for a reboot, so that got me curious about it, and I ended up liking this show a lot. So I'm glad it finally got a dub, even if like the whole process getting there was kind of weird. And it was nice getting to watch it. It was nice getting to hear something from the folks in Canada, because it kind of sucks they don't get to do as much work these days. But this dub is really solid. It has the right amount of Saturday morning cartoon energy to it that feels appropriate for this kind of show. Like, the performances, the dialogue feels very appropriate for that sort of thing. And it does feel like the kind of thing you could probably show to your 7 or 8-year-old if you want to get them into anime, but you want to show them something too intense, like Jujutsu Kaisen or something. This feels like a pretty good show you could put on for them. And I'm glad it has a solid enough to match. But like you were saying, I do wish it was a little more widely accessible. Like, even if the dub was just like on Crunchyroll or something, would be a little bit better than this, where it is now. I guess it is what it is. Hopefully its fortune will turn around, even if it's just like I think up on Tsunami or something.
Yeah, at least in the U.S. I believe this people are first aware of this because it showed up in Britain, and I think I want to say there was on like iPlayer, which is like the BBC's like on-demand service.
I actually did try watching the dub that way, but it kept blocking my VPN, so I had to wait.
I feel like that one's tricky, because my understanding is like that's all tied into like in England you pay a license for your TV connection basically. That's how the BBC like gets funded. That feels like the kind of thing that VPNs don't work very well with. However, that also means, like, are you listening to this and you're based in England? Congratulations, or anywhere the BBC's iPlayer works. Congratulations, like, you can watch this really easily compared to us. So, like, go take advantage of that.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess that more or less does it for tonight. So, we are the Dub Top Podcast. You can. We have new episodes going up every 2 weeks or so. You can find us on YouTube as well as audio versions on platforms like Spotify, Podbean, those places. And you can also follow us on social media through Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, which is slowly rising back because who knows how long Twitter is going to be around for.
It's a great game of chicken. We don't want to play, but have to.
Yeah. And then if you want to support anything that we do, you can give us a one-time donation to our Ko-fi, or you can be one of our lovely patrons. In the $5 tier, we have Megan's mom and dad, Michelle Travis, Julie W, Nico Robert, Yowie Hands, Victor Maramona, and in the $10 tier, we have Anthony Brown, Carly Lessikow, Kristen Akinda, Jacob Wilson, Jordan Hawkins, Brett Valenti, and Otako Anthony. Thanks for your support, guys. We really appreciate the support.
It's true.
Where can people find you, Alvon?
You can find me on Twitter, where I talk about movies and music and comic books and dumb garbage like that. Let's see. I should have a dusty old song, and now it just occurred to me that I cannot. What did I pick? I had something. Here, stall for a minute while I try and remind myself. Okay. I'll get one in a second.
As for me, I'm Jet. You can find me on Twitter at @DivineNeg, where I will usually be talking about, animation news or games or whatever world stuff is, whatever big world events are going on right now. Because everything is always on fire, which kind of sucks. And
yeah.
And then, aside from that, you can also find me on a couple of other podcasts. You can find me on the Surreal Resolutions podcast today, where I'll usually be shooting the breeze about anime news and stuff alongside fellow Dumb Talker Sandrew. And then I also do some writing occasionally for anime news at work, and I've also done something recently for Anime Feminist, a little article going over, there's a whole discussion going on with localization, and there's a whole connection between that and the reference with the old ADV dub of ghost stories. So check that out if that sounds interesting to you, I guess.
And for my dusty old song, initially I had hoped to pick something that was about Dragon Quest. But unfortunately, there are like a bunch of Dragon Quest games that all have their own soundtrack, so trying to find that was difficult. So instead I'm going to go for my old nerd standby, The Battle of Evermore by Led Zeppelin, which is not about Dragon Quest, but it is about Lord of the Rings, and that's pretty nerdy. So go listen to that. It's a good song.
Oh, sounds good. So, I guess that will more or less do it for us. Thanks for joining me tonight, Amon.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Cool. So, thanks for listening, folks, and till next time, talk on, friends.
Rock over Boston, rock on Chicago.
'Cause I know what disappointment's like when you laugh until you cry. All in